And now we're going to talk about when people first started coming in and settling Noblesville.
Yeah, actually, the people started settling here after 1818 because of something called the Treaty of St. Mary's, which is when the Indians agreed to move out of this area and you could actually legally buy land here. So we've just had our bicentennial of the Treaty of St. Mary's, and it was within a year after that that people started moving in, started heading into the area. And one of the first places was a place called Horseshoe Prairie, which is just south of Noblesville. It's kind of a big bend in the river.
Oh.
The problem is that everybody who went in there promptly caught malaria. So that's why probably when William Connor decided to build the town, he built it a little bit away from that swampy area right there. So.
Well, how do we know about this time period? Because there aren't any photos or pictures, right?
Exactly. What there are, fortunately, are things that people wrote down later. And what's really neat about this period in Indiana history is that there are actually people who came here as kids, maybe 8, 9 years old. And when they got older, they went ahead and wrote down what they remembered. There's a young man by the name of James Finch that came in here. He was one of those that settled at Horseshoe Prairie. And he wrote many, many years later about the stuff he remembered and about surviving the winter and doing all that sort of thing. There's another man who was named Sanford Cox. He came through in 1824, came through on that Lafayette Trace, the trail that went through the northern part of the county, and talked about all the things that he went through to get through on that. So it's a very, very useful sort of way to learn about it. So it's kind of important to kind of remember what happened when you were a kid and write it down later on.
Well, we don't have pictures of them, but what would a house have been made out of, or what materials would those pioneers have had?
Okay. The pioneers worked with all that they had, which was a lot of trees. This area was one giant forest, and the thing is, once you got off the trails, you got lost. So use what you've got. So they would cut the trees down and sometimes burn them down, do things like that, get the forest cleared, and then you had all of this wood from the trees, and you would just stack them up to make log cabins or sometimes even just lean-tos. It depends on what you needed as quick as you could there. So,
did they have tools, and would they all be made out of wood, or did they have another?
Okay.
How would they bring their tools?
Okay, they would come in usually in a wagon. Sometimes it was an ox cart. That's about the best that could get through the woods here. But they would have things like axes and hammers and different stuff for building with. But you had to buy those at trading posts far away.